There is something destroying your life right now. Not dramatically, not all at once, not in a way that announces itself clearly enough for you to recognize it as the threat it actually is. It is doing it slowly, day by day, decision by decision, in moments so small and so ordinary that they feel completely harmless in the instant they happen. 5 more minutes in bed. Leaving for tomorrow what could be done today. Avoiding the difficult conversation, the hard task, the uncomfortable step that would actually move something forward. None of those things feel like a big deal in the moment. But here is the truth that most people discover too late. Your life is not the result of your big decisions. It is the result of your small ones. The ones nobody sees, the ones that happen in the quiet of your own mind when the only person watching is you. And if those small decisions are consistently being made in the direction of comfort rather than growth, you're not just losing a morning or a day. You're building a life, just not the one you wanted. The good news is that the same mechanism works in reverse. Small decisions made consistently in the right direction do not just improve a morning or a day either. They build a life, the life you actually want. And the difference between those two trajectories is not talent, not luck, not the circumstances you were born into. It is 5 habits, practiced consistently, built deliberately, maintained even when nothing about the moment makes them feel necessary. These are the habits that separate the people who talk about what they're going to build from the people who actually build it. And by the time this video is over, you're going to understand exactly what they are and exactly how to start applying them. But before we get to the habits, we need to address the mistake that keeps most people from ever building real discipline in the first place. The belief that you need motivation to act. Most people are waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel inspired, waiting for the energy and the enthusiasm that is supposed to make the hard thing feel possible. And they keep waiting because motivation, the emotional kind, the kind that shows up when a video or a conversation or a moment of clarity makes you feel like anything is possible, is not a reliable fuel source. It appears when conditions are favorable. It disappears when they are not. And conditions are not always favorable. There will be mornings when you're tired and the work still needs to be done. There will be days when nothing is going right and the commitment still needs to be kept. There will be periods when the results are not appearing as quickly as the effort deserves, and the only reason to continue is that you said you would. Motivation will not be there for most of those moments. Discipline will, but only if you have built it. And discipline is not built in the dramatic moments. It is built in exactly the ordinary, unglamorous, completely unimpressive moments where you do what you said you would do, even though nothing in that moment is making it feel important. Think about 2 people who start in exactly the same place. Same age, same resources, same opportunities, same dreams. The first week, both are motivated. Both are certain that this time will be different. But then the week ends and the novelty fades and the real test begins. The first person starts negotiating. Just this once, just today, just until things feel more settled. And each negotiation feels reasonable. But each negotiation also teaches the mind something. That commitments are conditional. That the standards bend when the feelings do. That this is a person who tries things and eventually returns to the baseline. The second person feels exactly the same things. The same tiredness, the same doubt, the same pull toward the easier path. The difference is that they do not negotiate. Not because it does not cost them anything, but because they have understood something that the first person has not. Every time you negotiate with a commitment, you are not just missing a workout or losing a morning. You are training your identity. You are teaching your mind who you are. And the mind is always listening. 6 months later, the gap between these 2 people is not explained by talent or luck. It is explained entirely by the accumulated weight of their daily decisions. One has built discipline. The other has built the habit of almost having discipline. And almost is not enough to change a life. The first habit that transforms laziness into discipline is the one that most people underestimate completely: winning the first battle of the day. Everything about the rest of your day is shaped by what happens in the first moment after your alarm goes off. That moment, as small as it seems, is not actually small. It is a declaration. When the alarm sounds, a conversation happens in your mind. One voice says, "Get up, you have things to do, you made a commitment." Another voice, more comfortable, more seductive, says, "5 more minutes, you are tired, there is time." And how you respond to that conversation tells your brain everything it needs to know about who you are. When you hit snooze, the message sent is clear. When it gets uncomfortable, I back down. When you get up, the message is equally clear. I made a decision and I honor it, regardless of how I feel about it in the moment. And that second message, reinforced every morning, becomes the foundation of everything else. Because the mind that learns it can trust itself in the morning learns that it can trust itself everywhere. The first win of the day creates momentum that makes every subsequent commitment easier to keep. The first loss of the day creates a current that makes every subsequent commitment easier to break. So the practice is this. Tonight, decide what time you are getting up tomorrow. Not an ambitious time, not a performance for anyone else. A time that is slightly earlier than comfortable and completely non-negotiable. And tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off and the voice starts its argument, do not engage with it. The decision was made last night. It is not available for renegotiation in the morning. Get up, not because it feels good, not because you're ready, because you said you would. And the person you are becoming is someone who does what they say they will do. The second habit is where most people lose the day before it has really started. Do the hardest thing first. The mind has a natural preference for tasks that feel manageable. Given a choice, it will always want to start with what is easy, what is familiar, what does not require the quality of effort that the important things require. So most people begin their days with the easy things. They respond to messages, they handle routine tasks, they do the things that feel like progress but are really just maintaining the baseline. And they leave the hard thing for later. Later when they have more energy. Later when they're more focused. Later when conditions are better. But later never arrives with more energy than now. Energy depletes as the day progresses. Focus weakens as decisions accumulate. And the hard thing that was supposed to happen later gets pushed to tomorrow, and eventually becomes one of those things that was always important but never urgent enough to actually do. Here is what the disciplined person understands. The resistance to beginning a task is almost always greater than the actual difficulty of the task. The anticipation of effort is what stops most people, not the effort itself. But once you begin, once you are 10 or 15 minutes into the hard thing, something shifts. The mind settles into it. The resistance that felt enormous before you started becomes manageable once you are inside the work. And the person who learned to start before they felt ready discovers something the person who waits never does. The hard thing was never as hard as the story the mind was telling about it. So the practice is this. At the beginning of each day, identify the one thing that would make the most difference if it got done. The thing you have been avoiding. The thing that feels uncomfortable to start. The thing you keep telling yourself you will do when conditions are better. Do that thing first. Before email, before social media, before anything that feels easier. Give it the best hours of your day instead of whatever is left after everything else. The third habit is the one that most people never think to build deliberately, and it is the one that makes everything else sustainable. Training your tolerance for discomfort. Every significant goal requires traversing discomfort. Learning something new requires the frustration of not yet knowing. Building something requires the uncertainty of not yet seeing results. Changing your body requires the consistent discomfort of physical effort. There is no path to anything worth having that does not pass directly through something uncomfortable. And yet, most people spend enormous amounts of energy trying to avoid discomfort. When a task becomes difficult, they seek distraction. When progress is slow, they seek entertainment. When effort is required, they find reasons to wait. And in doing so, they train their minds to escape from exactly the experiences that growth requires. The disciplined person does the opposite. They do not just tolerate discomfort when it arrives. They seek it out deliberately. They wake up a little earlier than necessary. They finish things before the deadline instead of at it. They choose the harder option when both would technically work, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they understand that the discomfort of the training is what makes them capable of the real thing. Every time you do something difficult when you could have avoided it, your capacity for difficulty expands. Every time you choose effort over comfort in a moment when both were available, you're building a mind that can be trusted when the real tests arrive. And the real tests always arrive. The question is whether you will have trained for them or whether you will be encountering that level of difficulty for the first time exactly when it matters most. The fourth habit is one that determines the outcome of everything else more than any single factor. Protecting your focus. In a world designed to fragment your attention into 1,000 competing directions at every moment, the ability to concentrate deeply on one thing for an extended period is not just a productivity strategy. It is the most powerful competitive advantage available to anyone. Two people with identical talent, identical resources, identical time. One protects 2 to 3 hours of genuine focus every day. The other allows distractions to control their attention from the moment the day begins. After 6 months, the gap between them is visible. After 5 years, it is enormous. Not because one worked harder than the other, because one worked deeper. Deep work, concentrated attention directed at something that matters, produces results at a rate that scattered attention cannot match regardless of how many hours are logged. But here is what most people do not understand about distraction. It does not feel like laziness. It feels like activity. The mind that is scrolling, responding, reacting, consuming feels like it is busy. It is not building anything. It is just burning time that looks like effort. The practice is to protect a window of time each day, whatever you can genuinely commit to, during which you do one thing with complete attention. Phone away, not just turned over. Notifications off, not just silenced. One task, not several open at the same time. And when the mind drifts, which it will, you return it. Without judgment, without frustration. You simply bring it back to the work. That return is the actual training. Every time you notice the drift and choose to return, you're strengthening the capacity for focus. And the capacity for focus, trained consistently, changes not just what you produce, but who you become. The fifth habit is the one that makes all the others permanent, making discipline part of your identity. Most people try to change their behavior without changing how they see themselves. They decide to be more productive, to stop procrastinating, to finally be consistent. And those decisions collide with an identity that has not changed. The identity of someone who tries things and eventually returns to the baseline. And the identity always wins. Not because people are weak, because identity is the operating system and behavior is just the application running on top of it. Change the application without changing the operating system, and the application will keep crashing. But when the identity changes, the behavior changes with it, and stops requiring constant effort to maintain. The person who sees themselves as disciplined does not spend energy deciding whether to keep their commitments. They keep them because that is what disciplined people do. And the way identity changes is not through declarations. It is through evidence. Every time you get up when you said you would, you produce evidence. Every time you do the hard thing first, you produce evidence. Every time you choose the discomfort over the comfort, you produce evidence. Every time you protect your focus when distraction was available, you produce evidence. And that evidence, accumulated day by day in the small, invisible moments that nobody applauds, builds the most powerful thing a human being can have. The unshakable belief that when they make a commitment to themselves, they keep it. That belief is confidence, not the kind that depends on results or recognition. The kind that exists because you have proven something to yourself repeatedly over time. And from that confidence, everything else that seemed out of reach starts to feel like the natural next step. Let me leave you with this. 5 years from now, there will be 2 possible versions of you. One version is still in the same place, still waiting for the right moment, still negotiating with the alarm and avoiding the hard things, and allowing distraction to consume the hours that could have been building something real. That version will look back and know exactly what happened. Not a single dramatic failure, just the accumulated weight of small decisions made in the wrong direction. The other version built something, not because they had more talent or better circumstances, because they chose every day in the small, invisible moments that nobody was watching to be someone who shows up, someone who does not negotiate with their commitments, someone who attacks the hard thing first, someone who chose to be uncomfortable, someone who protected their most valuable resource, someone who built the evidence of a new identity one day at a time until discipline stopped being something they were trying to do and became simply who they are. That version is available to you, not someday, starting with the decision you make when your alarm goes off tomorrow morning. If this video moves something in you, like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear this and subscribe to the channel. There is so much more to explore together. See you in the next one.